All right, welcome to Soulflower University. I'm Jessica, and tonight we are going to be creating with this kit that I got from the dollar store. This was one that it was called a 3D. I think it was called a 3D wreath kit. And before I started tonight, I went ahead and wrapped it in twine, and then I put a little bit of a sponge on the bottom to allow us to put flowers in there. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is pick out some flowers for my flower basket to use tonight. And so we're going to use maybe some roses, maybe some daisies. I'm going to pick out just like a couple for right now. I might go back in and pick a couple more. But I wanted to kind of show you my process for how I typically do this. I've gathered up some greenery, and we're just gonna have fun with this and see how it goes. How are you guys all doing tonight? If you guys are having a good night, tell me in the chat down below that you're having a good night. If you are watching this after the fact, you feel free to put a comment and tell me how you are doing, whether it is day or night. Unfortunately, I have kids. Actually, really fortunately, I love my kids, but I have kids, and so I can't do things during the daytime. I have to do things when they are sleeping, and so that is why we do nighttime craft times. Woo woo! Alrighty, so what we're gonna do is I've got some of these that I'm gonna maybe put in there. I'm kind of liking the colors of those. I've got some leaves over here, and I'm just trying to decide what I want to do, because what I'm trying to do when it is all done is to make it look like a pumpkin. And oh look, my husband commented, hey honey, how are you doing? So I'm gonna take the tag off of this. All right. All right, so let's see. Let's stick some leaves in. And now, funny story with these, with the sponges, I like to use the sponges because my husband got them for free from work. I don't suggest using sponges typically because of this problem I'm having right here, where it's a little bit difficult to poke into it sometimes, especially with the more fake greenery, the ones with the thicker stems like this. But today I am using the sponges because that's what I've got, and I believe in using what I have. So we're gonna just start sticking in some leaves tonight, and we're just gonna kind of take this as it goes and see where we end up. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and kind of establish our outlining areas. Again, I don't suggest using sponges unless you absolutely have to, but tonight, that's what I have. So I'm taking leaves and I'm creating kind of the extent. So I'm going to put it in each of the four corners, creating the boundaries of where I want my arrangement to be. Not anything too specific, just kind of a generalized what I am doing. All right, I'm gonna kind of push this one in a little bit further. All righty. the stems on these are a little bit long, so I'm actually going to cut them a little bit. All right, so I've got a general outline there. I think I'm gonna put these away for now, and I think we're gonna come and start working on some flowers. Right now, this is kind of generalized. I'm gonna set this to the side for a second, and now we're gonna take these flowers, and now we're going to decide how we are going to color them. So I've got a couple different options of coloring. I've got all the supplies to do dip dyeing, to do painting, and to do spray painting because I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do tonight. So with that, I've got a bunch of different fall colors that I've got picked out that can work with any of them. I've got my red, I've got this brown, which I don't think it has a name on it. Got this cardinal red and my harvest orange, and this is an espresso, and this one is dandelion yellow. So what I'm going to do, I think first off, is I'm going to go ahead and stem my flowers. Doing this live, I don't have time to let them dry, so I'm going to stem them first. Typically, I like to dip dye them and get them all ready that way before I stem them. But tonight we're doing it a little different. So anyway, probably about that long. Now, one of my favorite tools ever is this glue pot. And this glue pot is super nice because what you could do is you can just take the stem, dip it in the glue pot, and then stab your flower. Now, if you guys remember, something that I like to do is I like to take the floral tape and kind of just make sure that it's nice and secure. And so once it's stabbed, I'll go ahead and take my hot glue and kind of run a bead along the bottom and then put the floral tape on just to make sure that it's an extra secure hold and the flower is not going to pop off. Not everyone does this. It's just something that I like to do to make sure the flowers don't pop off. All right, there's that one. So I've been trying to decide. Something that I used when I first started my channel was I would call myself and people who did solo flowers flower stabbers. And I thought it was kind of a cute name, but I wanted to get your guys' opinion. Do you think that that's a cute name, or should I try to come up with something different? Because, I mean, it kind of sounds a little violent, so it might not be a good name to stick with. And I just kind of wanted to hear what your guys' opinion was, if you had any. So in real life, this takes so much longer. In my videos, I make it seem like it goes by super fast, but it is not always super fast. My husband chimed in and says he enjoys stabbing flowers. I am glad that you enjoy stabbing flowers. I think it's a fun name. It's kind of unique. The Flower Stabbing Nation. I think some of the best things about crafting is it's just kind of relaxing. Being able to sit here and work on crafts and like being so quiet and get to be all creative. It's easy for me to get in the zone and be like, okay, so this is what I'm gonna do next, and this is looking so awesome. And does anyone else do that, where when they're crafting, they get in the zone? The crafting zone. So for those of you that may not be familiar with solo flowers, I thought I would kind of go into what solo flowers are. So solo flowers are actually wood flowers that are made from the root of, I thought it was the tapioca plant, but I actually found out later that it is actually this plant, which the short name is solo flowers. It's got like this long technical name, but basically it's this weed that is grown in India, and they'll take and harvest it, and then they'll take the root of it and they'll create shavings out of it, and those shavings are what we create the flowers from. And it's really cool because this wood is really soft. Like when you feel these flowers, it almost feels like styrofoam instead of wood, like you would expect. And so a lot of people, when they first see solo flowers or have their first experience with solo flowers, they're actually kind of surprised, because like when you think of wood, you tend to think of something that's really hard. But solo flowers are actually really soft and really pliable. And so that's part of the fun of them. And what's really fun is when you dip them in glycerin or water. That's when they start to get really pliable and workable, and you can shape them and do all kinds of stuff with it. And it's really fun. So here in a little bit, we'll get to that, and you can see what you can do with that. Hang on just a second, I need a water break. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all my flowers stemmed up, and stabbed, properly stabbed, as I should say. Okay, so the next step is we're going to take some water that I've added some glycerin to, and we're going to go ahead and soften them. So I'm going to dip it in, move it around, and I'm going to just kind of show you the difference here. Hang on, it's still dripping. So you can see here that it's very movable, very pliable compared to a flower that hasn't been dipped yet. It's still kind of stiff, but I mean, it's still movable, but this way it's a lot more pliable, a lot more workable. You can shape it, play with it, make it look how you want. So go ahead and dip them all in. The three main ways of coloring solo flowers is you've got mainly dip dyeing, which is where you will add paint directly into your glycerin mix and color them that way. And then you can use an airbrush gun and color them. When you use an airbrush gun, you'll want to soften them first, and then you'll want to use the airbrush on them. You do not want to put the glycerin mixture in your airbrush gun. It will ruin your gun. You will not be very happy, and you will have to buy a new gun. When you're hand painting them, typically, kind of depends on exactly what you're doing, but typically you'll soften them first as well, and then you'll hand paint them. The only one that you can combine is the dip dyeing, and the dip dyeing is honestly the fastest, but you get all one unified color, whereas if you want something that has a little bit more details, or if you want to try to make them look a little bit more realistic, it's fun to do the hand painting and the airbrush to get those details in there and to mess with it and kind of make it look a little more realistic. My personal favorite way to do it is to dip dye them first, And then you can go in and airbrush if you want to touch them up that way, or you can hand paint them. So let's go back over to my project here and kind of decide what color I'm going to do here. So I like these neutral leaves. I think they're really pretty, but I really want to emphasize the pumpkinish of this. And so I think we're going to start pulling out some orange, and we're going to do some orange with our flowers. Shake, 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 shake. Just to make sure it's all mixed up. I'm going to pull over some water. Okay. Mix, 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 mix. That might not be enough paint. I have a lot of water here. And I'm very messy. Crafting is not clean. As you can tell by looking at my table, crafting is not a clean project. If you are planning on staying clean, you probably should not craft. It's very dirty. So we're gonna do some more mixing. Mix, 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 mix. Mixy, 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 mix. All right. That's probably decent. We'll kind of test it. So I think I'm going to dip dye this one and see how we did. We got kind of a light orange, which I'm not hating. I'm actually not hating this at all. I kind of like it. Wasn't what I was originally going for, but it's kind of pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my egg carton, one of my favorite ways to store flowers when they're drying, like this. And I think for right now, I'm going to keep it like that, I think. All right, and then let's see. So I've got a lot of yellows, and I'm doing orange, and I'm thinking we need some red. And so we're gonna pull out some maroon. Add a good amount of maroon. When you're doing red colors and bright colors, you want to add more paint than you typically would, just to make sure there's good coverage. And with this case, I'm gonna add just a drop, just a tiny drop of black. Get my paintbrush back. I'll just add the tiniest bit of black to my mixture to get good coverage. And do more mixing. Mix, 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 mix. So I'm curious, who in my audience is a fall person? Who likes fall more and who likes winter/Christmas more? Because I'm curious, I tend to be more of a Christmas person. I like Christmas and winter, and I think snow is magical. And I like fall, but I don't love it. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate fall in all the fallness that it is, but I like my Christmas and I like my winter. It's very pretty, very fun. You know what? Before I get too far, I think I'm going to dip this one as orange too, so that way we kind of keep the flower types consistent. I'm going to go back in with these and add a little bit of details, I think, on these. All right, like that. So we got that one. And now we are going to do some red. We're going to do red. Mix, 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 mix. So with the red, I was a lot more prepared for the amount of paint that you need. So I did a lot better with this one. And look at how pretty that color turned out. I think this color is really pretty. It's kind of like almost like a pinkish red. And I think it's a perfect fall color. Oh goodness, I love this. All right, so we're gonna put this over here. And then because I have a second one of that same type of flower, I'm gonna dip it in there in the same manner. And go shake, 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 shake. And I'm going to clean up my workspace because I've got paint everywhere. All right, that is there. And now let's clean up. All right. And then this one, I'm honestly thinking about just keeping this one plain because honestly, the plain color of the soul flowers can be so pretty. And so I'm going to leave this one over here. I'm going to bring my flowers back over because now I want to do some hand painting. Add some details. So we're going to grab a paintbrush. All right. On these orange ones, I'm thinking I want to put a little bit of the more real orange in the center. Because as you can see, like dipping it, it's really pretty, but then like I want to make sure the real orange is really concentrated in the middle. So, and just a little bit of orange. All right, I like that. I feathered it out and we've got a nice concentration of orange in the center. That's kind of pretty. I like that a lot. So we've got that. Super, super pretty. Oh, look, my sister joined. Whole family showing up. Hey, sis. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So I think I'm going to leave those orange ones as they are. And now we are going to do some painting on the red ones. So I think the red ones are super pretty. But it would be fun if they had a dark center. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my espresso and we are going to paint the center. All right, here you go. There's the black center. Now to create a little bit more drama, what I'm going to do, I think, is I am going to take some of my red and put it directly on there. to kind of emphasize a darker center. Oops, oh my goodness. Wow, that was a lot to paint. All right. I just kind of emphasize that deeper center and actually kind of dragging some of that center color out with my paintbrush, which kind of creates some marks on the petals, which is fun and creates dramatic contrast. Okay, so like that. And I think I'm gonna do the other one on this other flower. Alrighty, like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna bring this back. Now this isn't going to go perfectly because the flowers aren't dry yet. So hopefully we don't get too much mingling of the colors, but we will see. We will see. All right. So what we're going to do is kind of take my white flower, make that my dramatic center, and then take this one and stab it in the other side. If my sponge will behave. Again, why you should use floral foam rather than foam than sponges. Alrighty. There we go. And because they're wet, my hands are a little colored. But typically, you'll want your flowers to dry about 24 hours to get before you start placing them in your arrangement, just to keep them from blending colors and getting paint everywhere, like I am doing here. If you're airbrushing them, sometimes you can get away with waiting less time, but it just kind of depends on how much you airbrush them. If you use a ton of paint on them while you're airbrushing them, then you might still have to wait. Kind of the way it goes. So I think we're gonna add in some more leaves. And then I want to add in some fillers after I do that. Trying to go for a very fall look. Nothing too crazy. Just a fall pumpkin. I'm getting some fun fall going on here. I'm getting excited. All right, let's cut that a little shorter. Alrighty. All right. Now for the top, we're going to come in with some of these other fillers. The right tool for the right job. Okay. If you're just joining us, I am currently using a kitchen sponge to stab into because I have a crap ton of them because my husband brought them home from work. And so I decided to use them and help in my crafting because I'm not sure what else I'm going to use them for. So that is what I'm doing. If you guys have crafts that you like to do with kitchen sponges, feel free to share links or message me some crafts to do with kitchen sponges. So that way I can use them for other things other than just floral arrangements. All right. I'm liking where this is going, but I think we still need some more coverage in here. So you can see that so far. It's looking good. I'm going to come in with some white fluff, I think. Go for a very nice touch. Add some height to this. Let's use the right tool. This one is being very stubborn. All right, there we go. There we go. Alrighty. Getting some very nice shape here. I'm liking the shape. And go around, see how we're looking on all sides here. I'm gonna shape our leaves a little bit. While I'm placing greenery in, I try to think about balance and try to do as much of in threes, or what you do to one side, you do to the other side. There's a lot of balance and composition while you're trying to think about what you're doing. Obviously, there's beauty in imperfection though, because in nature you'll find a lot of imperfection, a lot of things different, a lot of things growing wildly, and so sometimes that wild look can be an aesthetic all of its own. So alrighty, moving those leaves around, getting it all nice and balanced. All right. So I think just about there. I've got a little gap right here, which I'm thinking about maybe taking some of these and filling it in a little bit. I'm gonna have to stem these though. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this greenery and we're gonna stem it. That's gonna create a little bit of contrast and a little bit more filler in there, which I think will be really pretty and add to our fall aesthetic. So to stem greenery, what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll take the stem and we'll dip it in our glue pot, dip it in here, and then we're gonna wrap it in floral tape. The fun thing about the creative process is it's a process, and you get to discover as you're working what the end result is going to be. Because sometimes you know what the end result is that you want, and sometimes you kind of just discover it as you work. And tonight's project was one of those ones where you discover it as you work. Does it ever scare you as you're working on something creative that it might not turn out right, or that it might look bad? I know that's something that can sometimes keep me from creating, is that as I'm creating, I'm like, well, is this going to look bad? Is it going to look awful? Am I going to hate it? Excuse me. And sometimes you have to just kind of punch fear in the face and go for it. And love the journey. And just keep working at it until you love it. All right. Keeping with the rule of what you do to one side, you want to do the other. I'm putting some in over here. And I'm going to try to put some in over here. And I think we're almost done. After we got the florals all done, the last step is going to be creating the stem for our pumpkin. I think this would be really cute as like a table center or as a decoration in next to, like in your hallway, or like next to your door or something like that. It's definitely got fall written all over it. It's very fall and fun and colorful and festive. Could work for Halloween, for autumn, for Thanksgiving. It's very multi-holiday. Is that how you would say that? Multi-holiday or multifunctional. That's probably the proper way to say that. And so it would be multifunctional and be able to use throughout the fall season. There we go. Kind of sounded right. Okay. So there we go. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a stem for the top. And so I'm going to take some more cord wire, or jute cord is what it's technically called. I'm going to take some more jute cord and I'm going to create myself a stem for the top of the pumpkin. So to do that, I'm going to take this and fold it down over the top of itself like this. And then I'm going to fold it back up and start wrapping it around. Well, how tall of a stem do I want? Probably don't want too tall. Okay, right there. So we're going to wrap this around. Conflict inside of you. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Tonight we're just working on doing a pumpkin. Right now I'm working on the stem. I've been working on getting the flowers all done and we're just about done, but I am grateful to see you here and thank you for joining us. A question I've been asking my audience is whether they are more of a winter person or more of a fall person. So if you want to tell me in the comments whether you're more of a winter or fall person, I would love to see what you say. But anyway, we'll wrap up my stem here. All right, take this and I'm just going to kind of stick it up here, creating a nice little pumpkin stem using a bit of hot glue. Hold it in place for a second. And there we go. So I think this is super fun. Another option for this is you can actually take some twine and loop it down under and hang it up as well. It could be fun to hang it maybe from like a chandelier, or there's a lot of different options for this, a lot of different variations. You can change up the greenery and the flowers and do a lot of different things. I actually am going to do another short where I take and fill this in with twine between each of them and play around with a couple different styles of this 3D wreath. I think it's a lot of fun and a lot of different things you can do with it. And Conflict Inside of You says she is more of a fall person, not too hot but not too cold. Fair enough. That's a good choice. I'm more of a winter person, but fall is a good time of year, so I get what you're saying. So anyway, that is my craft for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and crafting with me. I hope that you enjoy. If you guys enjoyed this live and think we should do more craft nights, give lots of likes and comments. I would appreciate that. And until next time, I will see you later. Bye-bye.